Who do you think built that? The game never reveals it to you. Sorry, spoilers. Practically nothing about this world is explained. There's all this nature, which makes sense. Nature is a thing that exists independent of humans. But then there's all these ruins, structures, things that weren't built by lizards or hawks. You have no context for what any of this is or why it was built. And considering we're exploring the latter half of Shadow of the Colossus here, we're definitely gonna see some more funky structures than the first video. Will we get any answers regarding the purpose of these buildings or who erected them? Probably not, but let's just enjoy the ride. Welcome to Video Game World Tours. The domain of the ninth Colossus, unfortunately, doesn't have any cool ancient structures. It's just an arid, rocky plain. And it's not even a cool arid place like a desert. This is just gray and boring. I do think it's interesting how there's a big cave for the Colossus to hide in. I know I didn't quite settle on what the Colossi are during the last video, and having beaten the game now, I'm still not 100% sure how they function day to day. But this seems like a nice little shelter from the elements for this Colossus. He can hide away from the unforgiving sun on especially hot days. I would say he could cool off from all these geysers, but considering this is how you get it to topple over during the fight, maybe he tries to stay away from these if he can. Alright, let's move on so we can visit the interesting spots. The domain of the 10th Colossus is definitely right up my alley. A comment by Chroma4029 on my Guild Wars tour is what finally got me to cover this game. But it wasn't just them bringing up the game, they placed a little pretzel bait. They mentioned something they knew I couldn't resist, a type of spot I'm drawn to in any game that has it. I'm, of course, talking about a sand cave. I think it's well established that I love sandy caves in games. And you know what? This doesn't really rank very highly amongst the ones I've seen. That's no shade against this game as a whole. I think the environments in this game are absolutely beautiful. But for whatever reason, this sandy cave doesn't tickle my fancy as much as some of my favorites. Like, this doesn't even come close to the one I covered in my Final Fantasy VII tour. It's pretty alright though. Even a mediocre sand cave is still pretty good in my eyes. The uneven ground below you with rays of sunshine illuminating the center, it's a nice scene. Something I didn't pick up on my first time around was this tunnel in the back. I have no idea what we're gonna find down here. Oh wow, this lets you back outside. I was kind of expecting a dead end with a lizard or something, but this genuinely connects back to the world. This is what I was expecting with the first Colossus all the way back at the beginning of the first video. Look at all this space. There's nothing super meaningful for you to do here. I wouldn't have even seen this part of the map if it wasn't for me making this video. It's interesting to see an optional path though. Like maybe you decided to come at this boss from the south, and this is the path you're familiar with. I wonder what percentage of players chose this route over the northern one. Oh, look at that, sneaky waterfall. No beautiful environmental detail can hide from my observant peepers. An annoyingly zigzaggy path. I almost wish for there to be a simple slope going downwards, but I think I appreciate this more. It gives this part of the map character, even if it's an annoying character. And we're back into the main world. Oh hey, that's the expanse we rode through just before reaching the 6th Colossus. Which means there's a beach down there. Guess we'll finally explore it. Yep, it's a beach alright. Let's ride up the coast and see what's in store for us. Nothing. Still nothing. Dang, this goes on longer than I was expecting. And there's the end. How many players do you think rode all the way out here? I might be genuinely the only one to do it. Yeah, that's probably possible, and something I can just say with no proof. The 11th Colossus is unlike any we've fought so far. We've dealt with so many massive, lumbering beasts in such vast arenas, but this one is a little pipsqueak. I say that with love. This guy is so cute. He's like a little puppy. And his arena is at the bottom of a hole in the other desert on the map. Finally, we're finally getting some ancient ruins. Been waiting for some more of these. Nice little place they built here, whoever they be. Over here is where the fight happens. You have the little puppy hanging out here with these 4 lit braziers. Who keeps these lit? Does the dog do it?
Yeah, that right there. What the dog doing?
This almost feels like a temple. I couldn't quite tell you why, I'm just getting temple vibes. You can see where parts of the building have crumbled away over time, like there was probably a set of steps connecting the lower and upper level here. I wonder if there was something else built here that's lost to time. The uneven cliffside here makes me think this was connected to something in the past, but there's seemingly no other hints as to whether or not that's what actually happened. Maybe this was a speaking spot where someone could preach down to a crowd of people below them. The 12th domain is this way. Aw yeah, we're back in another forest. The forest vibes in this game are great. It's super cozy in here. Huh, I just noticed. Leaves get kicked up as you walk by in the grass here. That's a cute little detail. I bet these leaves are good and crunchy. You don't spend that much time in the forest, unfortunately. We head right back out, and the path leads us to a waterfall. Oh boy, I know what's in store for me here. Yep, another water arena. Well, let's get to it. Gorilla Grow left a comment on the last video mentioning that you move faster underwater. Let's give that a try. It's not that much faster. Sorry, swimming is still not my thing. This is just a little lake at the top of a waterfall. Please don't worry about how this lake can exist if no water flows into it. Stop asking so many questions. This fight is about getting on the colossus and steering them into these lake gazebo things. Once you do enough damage, he destroys the one you are on. So now these two are the only ones that are left in my version of the world here. Much like the walls I mentioned in my first tour, my copy of Shadow of the Colossus is personalized. And you can't even climb on top of these anymore. With the Colossus dead, you are literally unable to get up there. Kinda sad. The 13th Colossus fight takes place in the desert. Yeah, not much more to see here either. This is the same desert we briefly touched on in the last video. Man, at some spots here, just walking around, it kinda reminds me of Dune. The book and the movie are peak, and I know the game isn't taking direct inspiration from the novel with this desert, but I can't help but think of that series when I come across dunes like this in any media. Though now that I think about it, this Colossus fight might genuinely be a Dune reference. You fight a worm-like creature that flies around in the sky, but it also burrows underground? Eh? How about that? I guess it was a Dune reference after all. Though which piece of media isn't inspired by Dune? My videos definitely are. I'm the Pretzel Al-Gaib, and you are destined to spread the great word of pretzel. The domain of the 14th is a peculiar one. It's a seemingly normal ride until you reach a path with pillars flanking it on both sides. This isn't super out of the ordinary for this world, but it's enough to catch your attention, to let you know that the place you're going is somewhere special. Why else would all these pillars be here? Now this is a good cave. Beautiful little rock poking out from the middle and the sun shining on it. Great bit of environmental design. Oh wow. This is definitely a place that gets the mind racing. Look at all this. You go through here and there's a little aqueduct. You climb out and, geez. Like, what can I even say about this place? You have absolutely no context for what all this was built for. There's this seemingly important structure that the Colossus is hanging out at when you arrive. Aw man, and you can't even climb up these steps. Major bummer. I wonder if the level designers had the purpose of this space in mind when they made it. It obviously makes a good boss arena from a game design perspective, but why did people build this in-world? There's so many little details to notice here. These stone tiles in the ground, The stone pillars on both sides of them, the intricate detail work on the center divider, this lone platform over here that plays no part in the boss fight, and the building at the end that you have to climb up. I respect this game a lot for not giving you the answers to any of that. It's not like you beat the Colossus for this section and unlock a journal entry that tells you everything about this space. The most that this game tells you is that this is a closed-off city beyond the channel. But does this look like a city to you? Even now, having picked out all those details just a moment ago, I almost don't want to tie them all together and try to make sense of this. I kinda think it's more magical if we just let mysteries be mysteries. That is the nature of this game after all. You're put into this world and deliberately given practically no context for anything. Even by the end of the game, you're left with so many questions. Something like this is almost too abstract. I think it's more fun to not even try to speculate. I'd rather just take all this in at face value and soak in the details of only what we can see. Some spots in this game, I think it's fun to question what they were for back then. But this spot kinda has me appreciating the value in mystery, and not having an answer, and not even trying to find one. That's where this game shines in my opinion. The 15th Colossus takes place on the northeastern corner of the map. Long journey up there. Alright, it's just over this sand dune. Whoa. That's imposing. It definitely looks important. Man, look at the scale of this. It feels like this wasn't even built for or by humans. Seeing something this big, it kinda reminds me of the pyramids. Just trying to imagine an ancient society putting something like this together with such primitive tools. My modern mind can't even comprehend it. A very large set of steps. Well, thank God for the rubble falling the way it did. There'd be no other way to get up there if it weren't for these ledges. Jeez Louise, this is massive. The first thing that jumps to my mind when I see all this is one of those chariot racetracks. Only there's nothing cool like that now. It's just a big guy trying to stomp on you like you were a bug. Aw man, and you can't go back up along the sides of the structure. The only way to get up was to have the Colossus stomp on these tiles, and that'd let you jump up. But now that he's dead, we're completely grounded. It was super cool up there, you gotta believe me. You first encounter the Colossus by walking up to this cliff, and he almost jump scares you by climbing up from the edge. But wait a second, how was he there? There's no ledge for him to stand on just below the cliff edge. And it's not like you can see his fingertips holding on as you walk up to it for the first time. I genuinely don't have an answer for that. Maybe he was standing on a little cliff that crumbled away as he climbed up? That's the best I got. The moment where it climbs up reminds me of the gaping dragon reveal in Dark Souls. Yet another part of Shadow of the Colossus that reminds me of that game. Coincidence? Probably. Okay, we're gonna visit the domain of the final Colossus, and then take a peek at a super special spot in this world, one you might not even know exists. Let's begin our final ride with Agro. You go through a valley near the domain of the first Colossus, pass by the entrance to the 8th, and arrive in some rolling green hills with your destination on the horizon. This is advanced flatness. So much space and nothing to populate it. So many of the sightlines in this game are broken up by massive cliff sides, but there's practically none of that here. Look at how far out this stretches. So much space just for riding. Here's this chunk of the world on the map, and here's where you fight the final Colossus. All this space is just nothing. It exists purely for flavor. It's such an impactful moment to come out of this valley and have such wide expanses to your left and right as you march on towards your final fight. Here's a handful of spots that I really like in this space. Time to get down to business. You're greeted with an absolutely massive tower you have to climb. I can't even begin to guess how they built this whole thing or what its purpose was. Once you get closer to the top, you reach a passage that takes you through the tower itself. Oh man, the tension builds. Now that's a big fella. Unfortunately, you can't roam around the world after defeating this guy, so we'll have to do our best to explore this space with him attacking us. What an interesting place all the way at the top here. The way there's this little slope leading downwards with the Colossus on a pedestal, it feels like this was built for the Colossus. I don't think that's the case considering the plot revelations just after the fight, but who knows. I do kinda sound like a broken record at this point, but there's not a whole lot to see here. The spectacle of this fight is about you climbing this massive creature, not exploring the environment around it. Does the Colossus itself count as a spot? This is definitely a spot. Gazing out upon the southern sea with no idea what lies beyond the horizon. Kinda like my Xenoblade video, I'm left wondering what the world beyond the Forbidden Land is like. You see Wander arrive with his horse Agro and a girl named Mono. What is their society like? Would it resemble society as we know it in the slightest? We'll never know the answer to any of that. The most we can do is let our mind wander. Hey, speaking of Wander arriving into the Forbidden Lands, why don't we take a look at the tower in the center of the map? This is where the game starts, and where you find yourself after defeating every boss. And yet, I never thought to explore it. So instead of going out into the world to explore a Colossus's domain, let's turn around and explore our own little domain. Well, there's Mono. I hope she's hanging in there, in the afterlife. All the crumbled structures of the colossi you defeat on your journey. A dainty little pool at the bottom of this pit. Guess I gotta climb it. And here we are. I gotta say, it's pretty devious that there's a lip that sticks out here. It's begging you to jump down into the water below. Meanwhile, the water is only ankle deep. I probably would have fallen for that. And then there's the doors that you come into this world from. Wander crosses the massive bridge seen reaching to the north, goes through these doors, and then he is locked in. Wander is forever stuck on this side of the door here. Unless, what if there actually were a way to get on the other side? If you go to the northeastern corner of the Shrine of Worship exterior, you might notice a little patch of foliage. Seeing where it leads, it stretches pretty far upwards. By truly mastering the game's climbing system, you can begin your ascent up the shrine. And by mastering the game's climbing system, I mean abusing a glitch where diagonal jumps barely drain any stamina. If you continuously do those jumps, you will maintain enough grip strength to reach this little ledge where you can catch your breath. Then it's back on the grind. You're grabbing on ledges, climbing up walls, making perilous jumps. It's a long and stressful journey. But eventually, with enough patience and steady hands, you can reach solid ground. Which is, coincidentally, right on the other side of the door we were just at. I'm kinda surprised you're able to climb up here in the first place. Based off what I've read online, it can take maybe like 4 to 5 playthroughs to completely max out your grip strength. And even then, I'm not entirely sure if that's enough to get you up here. Maybe it is. Leave a comment if you climbed up here legit. Did the developers want you to make this climb? If the only way to get up here is via a bug, why did they make this climbable path at all? According to the wiki, it was apparently planned that you could climb to the very tip top of the shrine? So maybe the developers decided it was too much work and just cut it here. You can still go up a bit further though. Doing that reveals the garden that you see in the final cutscene. This is such a beautiful space. I remember thinking it was such a nice spot in the cutscene. I never thought I'd be able to actually explore it. I only learned this was an explorable space because I watched the old Game Trailers video talking about secrets and rumors in the game. Shout out to Game Trailers, by the way. Their retrospectives back in the day were some of the first scripted video content I remember seeing on games. Love and respect. Let me know if you genuinely did know this place was explorable. I'm sure a lot of super fans know about this, but there's probably a good amount of normal fans who don't. I wouldn't have known this was a thing if I didn't watch that video after beating this game. It's cool being able to get up close and personal with all the little details that weren't focused on during the final cutscene. Also, eating the fruit in this area drains your health and strength, so that's fun. We have one more final place to explore, and this one's a doozy. Yeah, we're crossing the Northern Bridge. This'll definitely be a journey, but it's one I have to make as your tour guide. We can't not go back to the entrance to the Forbidden Lands. Off we go. According to the wiki, this takes like 8.5 minutes? I'll be here a while. Okay, I have to swap to my right hand. Palm's getting sweaty. Definitely don't want to fall off towards the end here. Here we are, the entrance to the Forbidden Lands. It's weird being at the door to this place that we've explored so much of. Why is that sun so bright? My god. Well, sorry, Mono, but I don't want to fight that 16th Colossus. You can figure that out yourself. I'm heading home. Huh. Thanks for watching.